1.5. So
this should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
Welcome to Outta Pocket with Michael Davis on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. And this is technically your TGI Friday lineup. It is Friday morning, a special start time, 11:30 a.m. We're going to talk a little bit about March Madness, going to talk about the games tonight. We got Trevor Everette from the Two Pointers podcast. We got Josh Burton from Everything College Basketball. We got producer Desmond Johnson. We're sponsored by DraftKings. The way is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of NASCAR, is now live in North Carolina. Now you can legally bet on all your favorite sports anytime, anywhere, right here in North Carolina with DraftKings. For a limited time, new customers who sign up with promo code Tobacco Road and bet $5 will receive $250 instantly in bonus bets. DraftKings has the best features, including same-game parlays, player props, and more with fast and easy payouts right at your fingertips. This Sunday, we have the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix 2024. You have Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, William Byron, people you can bet on. You can bet on the winner, top 3, or top 5. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using code Tobacco Road and bet $5 to get $250 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Tobacco Road. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-77-185543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Best boats expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook/NC. NASCAR is not sponsored this promotion and used under license. Let's go for some basketball. You know, I would be remiss without mentioning UNC won their game yesterday against Wagner. Des was watching that game, and now they'll play Michigan State. Before we get into today's games, do want to ask Des about UNC's performance yesterday, and what do you expect from this upcoming game against Michigan State?
It'll be a little bit of a tougher matchup. Wagner, I didn't realize they only came in with 7 players and got in foul trouble early. So after the first couple of punches, it was just a matter of time. And that's what Carolina's done all year, pretty much. They don't really punch in them out quickly early unless they just really get on you, but they just stretch it out over the course of the game. So by the time you get to the end of it, you've lost by 15 or whatever. And they held Wagner under 65 points, which has been their calling card all year. I'm in love with this particular Carolina team because of their defense. They play defense, and they're great on-ball defenders, like from number 1 through 9. Baycott can switch and guard guards out of the perimeter. They can go pretty far if they stay healthy and they keep the pedal to the metal, keep doing like they did yesterday. And it should be a good one on Saturday. I haven't seen the time for it yet, but Hubert versus Izzo.
Yeah, two really good coaching matchups. Hubert Davis win ACC Coach of the Year. Josh, what were your thoughts on UNC winning and advancing to play Michigan State?
Well, I mean, it's no surprise. Like, Wagner kind of tried to give him a little fight there early, and then when Carolina said it was go time, it was go time. Comfortable win. I think we all expected that. But the Michigan State game, now, very interesting because Mississippi State, having watched them a lot in the SEC this year and covered them, very physical team, very big up front, and they have a sniper in Josh Hubbard that could go off at any time. And I thought they did a good job of basically face guarding him. And Izzo said, we're going to do our best to take him out of the equation. We'll double team the posts on Tolu Smith, and then we'll make guys like DJ Jeffries, Cam Matthews, and the lot beat us. That was probably the best Michigan State's looked in probably a month or so. A really complete performance. They had to battle through some adversity, like I said, with Mississippi State's length and the rebounding ability, and they fought, man, and they've got 2 really good guards. Jaden Atkins played better compared to what he did there at the end of the year against Purdue in the Big Ten quarterfinals, the tournament. So Jaden Atkins, if he starts to play well, and then especially Tyson Walker, I think that guard matchup between Michigan State and North Carolina tomorrow could be the determining factor, because I actually kind of I would expect more from Izzo, what they did to Mississippi State and Tolu Smith, doubling the post from the weak side on Armando Baycott. I'd expect more than that. And then when they do, Baycott's going to kick it out to open shooters. Cormac Ryan's going to have to knock some down. I think it's going to be a really good game. Izzo, this is his time of the year in March. I think he's going to have his team ready to maybe gimmick up North Carolina a little bit. I think it's going to be a lot closer, maybe some think, though.
And you might be recognizing, if you're watching on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, you might be recognizing Josh's last name, Burton. His brother, Peyton, also from Everything College Basketball, was on last Friday. Both of them are wrestling fans too, so you've seen Josh on Drop the Mic. This is Josh's first Out of Pocket appearance, though. But we welcome back a Out of Pocket favorite from last summer, Trevor Everette, from the Two Pointers podcast. Did you get to catch either UNC or the Michigan State game? What's your thoughts heading into tomorrow's matchup?
Hopefully my boss isn't listening. I watched both those games, if I'm being real with you. I've been more locked in and engaged since about 4:30 Eastern, and all of that other time period after that. But look, at the end of the day, like I got a text from a Carolina fan. It was like, yes, Carolina moves on with a clapping emoji. And I go, you played a 16 seed with 7 players, clapping emoji. Like, guys, like, are we that worried about tomorrow? And everybody's like, yes, we're that worried about tomorrow. Look, I'm not sitting here. I don't want to run through a ridiculous prediction, but at the end of the day, Carolina's front court's just deeper and better than Michigan State's, and I think that's going to be the difference maker. I've gotten a chance to see this team at their lowest this year when they lost to Clemson at home. I've got a chance to see this team beat a team by 25 this year on the road. I've seen this team in variance, and this North Carolina team, when the guards are playing well, I still think they have the better guard team than Michigan State, and I just ultimately think the scary part, if you really want to sit here and think, I don't have the stat in front of me. Second show I've done today without the stat in front of me, but Tom Izzo as an underdog is 70% or something stupid like that in the tournament. When he's the lower seed, he's capable of winning these games. It's unreal. And about the favorite thing, nothing's going to beat the Carsonites. I'm going to always be B to that A, if that makes sense.
So the Carolina fans you were referring to, though, those are the Walmart fans. Those are the ones that are scared every time. Hold on, though. They're worried we're going to lose by 40.
Four of the eight of them are alumni. And I was really, I thought the same thing. I'm like, guys, give me a break.
Carolina's
hello?
Carolina's been a top 10 team all year. They've been a top defensive team in the country all year. RJ Davis is a first team All-American. That stuff doesn't just go away.
I have my own thoughts about them, but I'll leave it alone.
I will say real quick, last point on that game tomorrow, something new I noticed that Izzo did yesterday to Mississippi State's defense. And again, they were a top 30, top 20 type defense all year. I know Carolina has been playing pretty much close to elite defense, was what separated them from years past where they were score, go, 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 is when Carolina pressures the ball and tries to play gaps. Izzo against Mississippi State yesterday ran a lot of kind of UCLA into Princeton action, back cut them to death. So I think Carolina is going to be wary of over helping and over pressuring, or they're going to get back cut. I think it's going to be a good game. Again, we've all mentioned Izzo in March, you never count at Michigan State, especially as an underdog. I think Carolina better come ready to play, because if not, they may get clipped and not make it out of the first weekend.
It could be a good game. Trevor already showed that he is repping his college team. Dez has got to talk a lot about his Tar Heels on Out of Pocket, but I had to rep the Cameron Crazies and my Duke shirt. Please don't cut my cam off, Dez. If you're watching on Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel, give us a like, shout out the Duke shirt. But Duke plays today against Vermont, and posted a clip earlier this morning where Dez went off on yesterday's show about the Duke Blue Devils not getting out of the first round, could lose to Vermont today. If they get past them, could lose to Wisconsin or even James Madison before the weekend's over. So I've already heard from Dez. I want to hear from Trevor and Josh. Trevor, I'll start with you. Do you see Duke making it out of this weekend?
Out of this weekend, as in beating Vermont and moving on to the Sweet 16, to make sure I understand the question? Boy, you're going to hate me, and I don't know if I'm getting an invite back. I think they're better than Vermont. Let me just be upfront. John Becker is one of the best coaches in the country, and I honestly applaud him at Vermont for just parking it for however many years it's been now. 5 out of 6 years. They made the tournament. The only year they didn't was I think the off year with the COVID year or something like that. They basically made the tournament every year John Becker's been there, in this last 6-run stretch. It's incredible. However, I don't think this is the Vermont team that can do it. I do think Duke can handle Vermont. To answer the weekend part of it, you got the worst case scenario draw. You got the James Madison Dukes, who I have advancing past Wisconsin. I had that pick. You can ask Josh. We talked about it for months on Everything College Basketball. I've been on the Dukes for a long time, even though I was still an App State guy coming out of the Sun Belt. And the Dukes are incredible. They're 30 wins for a reason. I think they beat Wisconsin. I think that was the trendy pick anyway. But Wisconsin hasn't been playing their best ball even until recently. It took the Big Ten tournament for them to just turn things around, where they ended the season with a losing record. So I think JMU, unfortunately, does clip off the Blue Devils, and I do think JMU is in the Sweet 16.
Trevor, I really don't like you. You might not be back on the show.
I picked that the moment the bracket came out, to be clear. Like, I literally wrote in JMU to the Sweet 16 the moment that I saw it and was like, all right, well, that's done. Got it. Thanks.
Don't let your homerism show, Michael Davis. You have to use facts here. It's like, you can't just be mad at him because he didn't pick your team. Like, you know why he didn't pick your team. You've been watching them all year.
Des, how did Trevor do that thumbs up next to
He's got one of those. He's got one of those cool, like Apple. We talked about an ECB.
That was on purpose, but normally it's an accident.
What was that? I've never seen that before.
Do the little heart gimmick.
Oh yeah, YouTube's gonna love this. I was gonna do this on the way out. Oh no, I was gonna do this on the way out, but
how are you doing this? Like, what?
Steve Jobs is how I'm doing this. Steve Jobs.
Oh my gosh, we just unlocked a feature on StreamYard that I never even knew existed. So, all right.
I feel bad for our audio listeners now. If you have a chance,
what's going on? What's happening?
So lost.
If you have a chance, I can't even explain it. Just go back to the Tobacco Road YouTube channel. Maybe Trevor does it by the end of the show. Josh, back up my Blue Devils here. Come on, man.
So when Peyton was on last week and he went on a nice little tirade about Duke being soft, and Des agreed, and you're asking for backup and nobody came to your defense because it's true. Listen, it hasn't changed in a week. They're still soft as Charmin. The thing is, though, now I will say this. They will beat Vermont. Vermont, in years past, if this was old Vermont where they shot a lot better, I think they're like 33% from three. That's not going to bother Duke unless Duke completely lays an egg today. They'll get by Vermont. But the winner of Wisconsin, James Madison, and I tend to agree with Trevor on James Madison getting Wisconsin, but either one is more of a bad matchup for Duke because Wisconsin will play more of that slow it down offense. They've got shooters. They are tough. James Madison, kind of the same way. They have big time experience with the win at Michigan State this year, 30-game winner. I picked my bracket James Madison just like Trevor did to go to the Sweet 16. But I will say Duke gets by Vermont today. And then I think Sunday, whether it be James Madison or Wisconsin, as long as Duke can control the glass, lock in defensively, and they've got to hit some shots. Tyrese Proctor has got to be good this week. And if they want to make a Sweet 16, he has to. He's been up and down more than good. I'll say there's a chance. I'll give them like a 60% chance, but I'm still rocking with JMU going Sweet 16.
I was trying to call for help, and nobody was picking up.
Nobody's going to help. The fact that we have to sit here and figure out reasons to justify Duke getting out of the opening weekend and they're a 4 seed kind of explains the whole situation here. Like, Duke is probably one of the youngest teams in Division I for starters. Like, I mean, if you look at the roster and who actually plays, that's going to come into play in this bracket because Wisconsin, James Madison, hell, Vermont probably are all much older than this Duke team. So they have much more experience and those teams have been together longer. Like when you get to March, that's really what it is. And the main thing we saw with Duke, they don't seem cohesive right now. They don't seem like they like playing with each other. Against State and they see tournament, it looked like they were ready for the season to be over. Like while the game was going on, like they were just ready for the game to be done. So to Josh's point, that doesn't just go away because they haven't played in a week.
To Dez's point, talking about the experience, I heard you say this. I think you said this on a show recently, like about the inexperience thing, and I didn't really think anything of it because there are some like guys like Ryan Young on the team, right, where he immediately throws that number way out of whack.
Yeah,
I mean, like 199 games or something stupid like that. They are 206 in the country in Ken Pom in experience, 1.73 average years. Which even surprises me a little bit. Like that's even, I think you're right to that point. And by the way, talking about Ken Pom, like I'm not saying he's the Bible when it comes to college basketball. He's not, and he'll tell you that. But to think about, like, speaking back to the Michigan State North Carolina thing very quickly, Ken Pom has North Carolina winning that game by 2. Like to just give you an idea of like how much that goes into those projections. I know Kim Pom is kind of inflated there in some of their metrics. I don't know if they're necessarily a top 25 team in that regard, but even the Vermont game to speak to like the projection and how they view like some of what Vermont does versus what Duke does comparison wise. We have 30 minutes. I want to dive into the details of that. Duke's only projected to win 73-62.
Jeez.
That
But
gives you an
they're
idea.
projected to win.
But doesn't
Michael,
I'm telling you,
it's a
but you're not
14
seeing
Mike.
what we're you're not seeing what we're saying.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Michael,
Oh,
Michael,
I know
will
what
say-
you're saying.
You're in danger. That's what we're saying. Like
Exactly in danger. But I will say this: if Duke gets out, if they win tonight, which they should against Vermont, and they play whoever Wisconsin James Madison on Sunday, if they get by this first weekend, it'll probably be off the back of a guy like Jared McCain. Like I think he'll go nuts.
Yeah.
And you have that on your side. You have with the youth comes a lot of talent. And if they put that talent to good use and actually play hard and cohesive to Desmond's point, then they should get out of the first weekend. But that's not an easy matchup potentially waiting on Sunday for them, either one.
And if you look at this Duke team, like, yeah, you guys are dogging on me right now. But
we're just giving you facts. Like if Duke was really good, we would say they were really good. Like
Well,
if this was 2019, we'd be like, how are they going to stop Zion Williamson? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? It's just
Here,
you just so happen to be wearing Duke on your uniform. But
so you don't think I'm dogging on you, right? Vermont is one of the best teams in the country at controlling their turnovers. Like they're incredible at that. They're bottom or top 31 in the country in turnover percentage. And your advantage is that they also don't force other teams to turn it over as well. So I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword. I apologize. I'm kind of stabbing you and not stabbing you at the same time. But like at the end of the day, though, if they control the game and the speed and tempo, they have more experience doing that. That's kind of the issue for Duke in that regard. And I think that's what Des was speaking to a lot there. At the end of the day, like you're going to need, like he said, a Jared McCain, like Josh said, a performance like that. But you're also going to need Jeremy Roach to control the game because if he doesn't control the game, Vermont's going to do that for him. And I think you'll be on the wrong side of that.
he's the key because he's your senior point guard. He needs to be running this thing, and he disappears sometimes, and that's troublesome for me that he's been there 4 years, and sometimes you forget he's even on the floor. So Roach is the key for Duke.
Roach will be a big factor tonight. Filipowski and McCain need to step up as well. I want to move into a segment called Fan Focus. We did this last week as well, where I asked each panelist a different question about their own team. And, yes, we're in the middle of March Madness right now, but I want to take a break from all the hey on my Duke team. And I want to bring up questions about y'all's teams. I'm going to start with Trevor. Trevor, the Lakers play the 76ers tonight in the NBA. Who is more vital to the Lakers' success in 2024 this season, LeBron James or Anthony Davis?
Look, this is a 30-minute show, so I'm going to give you the best abbreviated version of this answer that I'm able to give you. I think it's an incredible question. First of all, I want to give you credit for that. I think it's an incredible question. Second of all, I forgot that we're playing the Sixers tonight because March Madness is going on. So I just want to, my brain stops working for the NBA for 4 days, and it's these 4 days. So here's the thing. The AC answer that every Lakers fan, media member, whoever, anybody you ask, it's probably going to be LeBron. But think about the Western Conference for a second. Think about what if they want to go on a run like they did last year where they made the Western Conference Finals and they played the Nuggets. A lot of those games were single possession games in the fourth quarter. Obviously, it ended up being a sweep, so ultimately it didn't matter. But think about the Western Conference and what they would have to potentially go through to get there, right? Obviously, the Thunder don't have a big other than Chet Holmgren that they have to worry about, but they would have to have the best big in Anthony Davis. And by the way, my answer is Anthony Davis. I think he's more important and more vital to their success because of it doesn't even matter getting to the finals and how LeBron might be important in the finals. I'm just thinking forward here, right? Think about the teams that they have to play, right? Minnesota, when Towns comes back, they have a rotation of Towns, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert. Like, you're not beating that team with just or just LeBron James. Like, Anthony Davis has to be vital, and I'm thinking more defensively of stopping some of these teams. Denver, 100, no one's stopping Jokic, right? But at least having Anthony Davis versus not having Anthony Davis is probably the right answer, right? Even New Orleans with some of their big rotation, I think it's more of a deeper rotation there. The Clippers, obviously, you're having to defend something like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George getting to the rim. I think that rim pressure is just as important as maybe a big like Zubac is. And then Dallas obviously has some decent young players. And then there's no other Western team that's even in contention there. The Lakers are the 9 seed right now at 37-32. Obviously, no Embiid Friday night, incredible, perfect, love that. I hope they can pull that game off. The point is, to answer your question, Anthony Davis and what he provides on both ends of the floor as a big, you're not getting to the Western Conference if you don't have a big like Jokic, or that can play up to Jokic's level, or at least guard him to that level, which I think they can do. Obviously, LeBron, we've seen him this season. There was that specific game, I think it was against the Clippers, actually. It was that ridiculous fourth quarter comeback. They don't win the game without him, where he had like 22 points and 26 out of 26 points of the Lakers' fourth quarter minutes there. I don't know how the answer is not Anthony Davis, even though LeBron, at the moment in his career now, we know he can flip the switch still. In the playoffs, that's going to be a lot harder to do for 4 rounds versus a guy like Anthony Davis, who's still in the prime of his career.
I would almost go back on that and say I trust LeBron more to turn back the clock in the playoffs rather than Anthony Davis, just because of health reasons,
Assuming they're fully healthy. I mean, they are right now. They've been healthy all year. So I have to continue to stick to that answer because of the fact that, granted, I know LeBron's got the health history here that's incredible. However, he's not 30 like Anthony Davis is. He's 39 or whatever he is now. God, I don't even know. Closer to 40. My point is. So I think Anthony Davis, again, just thinking back to that center point, you have to have a guy like Anthony Davis to be competitive in the West. You just have to.
And Anthony Davis is a former Kentucky Wildcat. So I wanted to pose to Josh,
Good segue.
Who is the best Coach Calipari prospect in Kentucky history to go to the NBA?
I mean, that's a loaded question. Honestly, we could do an hour over the talent that has came through Lexington since Coach Cal has gotten there. I'll narrow it down to a few, and then I'll give you my full answer. So, you got John Wall, you got DeMarcus Cousins, you've got Brandon Knight, Terrence Jones, you've got Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I said Karl Towns, Devin Booker, and Anthony Davis, and yada, yada, yada. So there's a lot to go from. I'll give you the most important, right? Anthony Davis was the best all around, led us to a national championship. What he did as a freshman in 2011-2012 season, blocking over 100 shots, scoring the 5th most amount of points, never bothering him at all as far as in the starting lineup goes. I mean, all the accolades, leading them to 38-2 record, all that fun stuff, national champion. But the most important player in the Calipari area at Kentucky is John Wall. Because that first season he came in, he had to set the tone of what Kentucky basketball was going to be again under him. Obviously, the storied history, right? The incredible fans. But we had fallen a little bit on hard times there for a couple of years. And bringing John Wall, you could have brought DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Bledsoe, all the guys you brought in and still had a really good team, a top 10, top 15 team. But getting John Wall, because he had really the first high school mixtape that went viral. He was the number 1 point guard in his class. He was the undisputed number 1 player going to be in that next year's draft. And he had that personality. He had the swagger. He had everything you wanted from a star player, especially in college. The fan base loved him. He had that likability. I mean, there was 3 rap songs made about him, which was awesome. He was the guy. And without him, that Kentucky team was good. With him, they were great. Should have won a national title that year. The West Virginia game, notwithstanding, couldn't shoot to save our lives.
Yeah, free throws.
But, the 3-point shot, we went 3 of 31, started 1 of 22. So they went to the 1-3-1. We can relive that another day. But it's John Wall because he was a rock star. And they gave that cool factor and that it factor back to Kentucky, where after you saw what happened. Calipari was a great recruiter at Memphis. But at Kentucky, it's a different stage. It's a bigger brand. It's the brand. And John Wall, being the rock star he was, the number 1 pick, the highlight tapes, little kids grew up outside of the state of Kentucky wanting to play for Kentucky, in part to John Wall. And then they realized the history of Kentucky, and that helped, of course. So to me, long story short, John Wall is the most important prospect that Kentucky's ever had under John Calipari. And maybe you can argue one of the most important ever, period, in the rich history of Kentucky basketball.
He kind of ushered in one and done. That class was really the beginning of one and done because he's really Kyrie Irving a year early. He was Kyrie Irving, but for the most part with a little bit more swagger a year before Kyrie landed at Duke. And that opened that stretch for Kentucky and Duke and Kansas and a few others to really embrace one and done from 2010 to COVID for the most part. Yeah. So for a decade, it was Calipari leading the way. I have to agree. I think Wall's probably the most important one because him and Cousins were gone just like that. And I was like, what?
And you want to talk about Rockstar, and I know we got to move on. Not only everybody knows the John Wall dance at Big Blue Madness, awesome, set the stage. He had to miss the opening game because of a little 1-game suspension. Whatever happened back in high school happened. His first game at Kentucky, we almost got beat by Miami of Ohio in Rupp Arena. He hits a step back game winner. All right, the legend grows. Then the North Carolina game. It's our first chance to play the number 1 team in a big game again. Kentucky's back, but can they beat North Carolina, who had won the title the year before? And he goes nutty in the first half, highlight after highlight, and the legend grows. And Kentucky, it's John Wall. It's John Wall forever. It's John Wall.
I want to defend him really quick because I know what's going to happen. I know what the comments are going to say. When the comments come in on this YouTube video and they're like, he's an idiot, it's not it's Anthony Davis, right? I knew what he was going to say. I've been doing podcasts with Josh long enough. I knew what he was going to say, and I appreciate how well he backed it up, because if the question is posed best talent-wise, you laid out at the beginning, right? That's the answer. It's Anthony Davis, but I appreciate you not saying that actually and giving the defense, because when you sent us the rundown, I saw best. I was like, well, duh. And then I was like, but wait a minute, though. And then again, doing podcasts long enough with Josh, I'm really glad that he defended it the way he did, because I can already, my eyes are closed. I can just see the YouTube comments right now. God, what the heck this? What the heck that? Anthony Davis this, number 1 pick that. Like, I can just see it all right now, and I applaud the fact that was a defensible case.
Hey, he made a strong case. Des, real quick, I brought this up on the Cat Cave. Who do you think is the Panthers' best acquisition thus far in free agency?
Well, I can't count the 2 offensive guards they brought in because that's pretty obvious. So I'm going to go over on the defensive side, and I'm going to choose Josie Jewell, the linebacker that played under Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator in Denver. He played in Denver for 6 years. He's had 453 tackles over 78 games. I believe he's had 3 100 tackle seasons in the past 4 seasons. And I think he's going to be able to fill in pretty nicely for Frankie Louvu. It sounds like Frankie Louvu, like when you say like stat-wise or whatever. So hopefully plug and play with that there. That was one of the positions I know a lot of Carolina Panther fans were really upset to lose Louvu, but I think Jewell's production and Evero's defense that he's already familiar with will give him a head start. So I think so far to date, that's been the biggest free agency signing that they've had.
Des has been listening to the Cat Cave on FFSN and Tobacco Road Sports Radio. I said the exact same thing, and everybody's like, Louvu's gone. Louvu's gone. I'm like, y'all guys got Josie Jewell. I think he'll be able to replace him. So it's incredible. I know you guys have to get to your March Madness games. That's why we moved the show up to 11:30. So we're going to get this last thing in. That aged well. We end every show on that aged well. And everyone's question right now. So in 30 seconds or less, we have a lot of Friday games to look forward to today. Who do you think is more likely to pull up an upset tonight during March Madness in any of the games? Trevor, it's your go. Let's see if it ages well.
It's not going to, but here's why. I'm not picking James Madison, Wisconsin, because I've already done that today. Grand Canyon, St. Mary's, I'm not as confident because of the draw for Grand Canyon. So really quick there, they would have been the easy pick for me long term, but I don't love the St. Mary's draw. TCU, Utah State as an 8-9 is a cop-out. The ridiculous viral thing to say would be Longwood, Houston, because I think Longwood has an incredible chance against Houston just because of the defense. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with what I think I'm the only person in the country that has picked this. I'm going to pick Charleston over Alabama. Nope. And look, everything everyone's going to tell you is that Alabama's the better offensive team and they're just going to wipe them off the floor. This is a Charleston team that is incredible. The problem is their defense isn't up to that par. My real answer that I have New Mexico in the Final Four, so I'm going to give you 2 really quick. I have New Mexico beating Clemson.
Okay. Yeah. Josh, what's your Friday upset?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor and I, obviously, we've done a whole show covering this tournament, and I agree with him on the Charleston. I still think Alabama wins that, but Charleston can obviously do it. Obviously, New Mexico is I've not seen one person pick Clemson. Mine is off the wall, so bet money on it, whatever you want to do, but I think Western Kentucky gets Marquette. Western Kentucky is the number 1 team in tempo. That means they play fast. They want to go, 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 go. Marquette's hobbled. Even if Tyler Kolek's back, which I think he will be today, it's still that tempo. And your first game back, have to play that pace is really hard. Western Kentucky has a really good coach in Steve Lutz, and they've got really good guards. Don McHenry, Brandon Newman came in from Purdue. They've got Dante Allen that can shoot. They've got dudes that could really put Marquette in a precarious situation. I think Western Kentucky becomes a 15-2 and just blows the South region wide open. I'm going Western Kentucky. Tempo, in a high-scoring affair, takes down Marquette.
Kentucky resident picks Kentucky school. Des, what's your upset tonight?
Well, I was looking at the Clemson New Mexico game too. Like, Clemson has no business being a 6 seed. I'm not sure why they are highly overrated there.
And New Mexico's underrated, to be clear.
And New Mexico's underrated as an 11 seed. New Mexico can go pretty deep, at least 3 games in, I would think, on this. So I'm gonna stick with that one, but I'm keeping an eye on Baylor Colgate at 12:40 today, and then also I'm keeping an eye on Duke Vermont tonight, because I want to see which version of Duke shows up. To be honest, like, I'm not wishing for them to lose in the first round. I mean, it'd be nice if they did, but that's bad for the ACC. That's a bad reflection for my team and the other ACC teams that are in this tournament. Virginia already did that for us. We don't need any more embarrassment, Duke. So get your stuff together and let's go. But I'm curious to see which Duke team shows up and if they actually respond to getting punched in the mouth from NC State from last week, or if they continue to pack their clothes and get up out of here. So I'm keeping an eye on that one. But if I got to pick one that's going to be a upset, it's probably at 3:10 today. The 11 seed New Mexico beating Clemson, the 6.
Real quick, Michael, 145 today. 12 seed UAB, 5 seed San Diego State. UAB's got a really good guard named Eric Gaines. San Diego State's going to slow it down, be physical with them, but I think UAB could combat it. Andy Kennedy's a really good coach. That is a 12-5 to keep an upset watch on.
Yeah, I got UAB winning today. I got New Mexico winning today, but I also have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. I think Grand Canyon actually makes it Sweet 16 before they lose to UNC. That's my official bracket right here. Des said he really wanted to look at this, so there it is.
In Grand Canyon, the online school?
That's Phoenix University.
Okay.
Close enough.
I'm like, aren't they the ones where it's just like
You see a lot of commercials, though. You are.
Hey, we need an NBA 2K team in March Madness. That would be wild. Hoping we can get a college basketball video game, because we'll get a college football video game this summer. So please. But we are out of time today on Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. This was a special start time, 11:30 a.m. to get you to March Madness this afternoon. Monday, we will back our regular time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. For myself, Michael Davis, Trevor Everett from the 2 Pointers podcast with Fireworks, Josh Burton from Everything College Basketball, producer Desmond Johnson. Everyone, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.